Next slide. Okay, the 2% rule, which most of you probably already know about, but and Walter has some great calculators for those. I like using that site. The address is on the slide there. Yeah, just I do take money out of my trading account because I don't like to leave too much money in there in case of things like my broker going bankrupt. But I use the money, I put the money in another bank account, but I do use that money in my calculations for my lot size. So I have a spreadsheet where I add up all the different sums of money that I have, my different pots, and that total figure is the figure I input into my position size calculator to help determine my lot size. And I do exactly like Walter always says about making my lot size as accurate as I can. So I don't round up, I don't round down, I make it exactly 2%. Next slide. Now this comes on to compounding of profits. I mean, this is quite a simple example, but do you think you can make 10 pips a week consistently, week in, week out? And you know, I've seen this on some other sites, and it's spoken about. I don't know, the way they sell it is, I think it makes it seem like it's not achievable, but actually it is, because if you sit down with an Excel spreadsheet and you work out what 1% profit is each week without removing money from your account, it's amazing how quickly that money adds up. As you can read on the slide, if you hold on to all your profits and make at least 1% a week, you will have $100,000 in 4.5 years. And if you were making 2% a week, you'd have $1 million in the same amount of time. Now, on my system, I've actually been making between 3 and 4% a week since Christmas. I did have a couple of losing weeks just recently, actually, when the market went a bit crazy in the last few weeks. But I mean, I've been on a really lucky run, and I recognize that I haven't got everything figured, and there will be times when the market just seems to go crazy. Or is that my psychology going crazy? That's the question. But either way, I have been particularly lucky just recently. But it is achievable. I was on a forum, and somebody was saying to me earning 1% a week was absolutely ridiculous, and that I was living in cloud cuckoo land to think that that was achievable. And to me, that just highlighted again what Walter is always saying about that you shouldn't hold yourself you shouldn't limit yourself to other people's standards, because that was obviously in that man's mind what was real, what was achievable, but that wasn't what was achievable in my life. And I was sitting there looking at my account balance thinking, well, I've achieved a lot more than 1% a week, and I intend on carrying on doing that, and maybe even trying to do more. And it's so easy to be limited by other people's beliefs, but you kind of just have to let them go. As long as you keep your risk consistent at 2%, your risk per trade will be exactly the same whether your account is 10%, I mean 10,000, or going up to 1 million or 10 million. This is all stuff that Walter talks about, and it's all stuff that I've been doing. But I love this system because it's so easy. You don't need to change the way you trade. As your balance grows, I don't have to think about it. And again, that comes back to my earlier slide. Which one was it? Here. About keeping your system simple to reduce your mental stress. I mean, this is what's so great about naked trading. The less you have to stress about, the more likely you're going to focus on how to win. Let me just give that to, yeah, here. None of what I'm talking about with compounding your profits is wish wishful thinking. It's math. You can sit down and work it out for yourself. It's stuff that people fight against and to accept, and I don't know why. I think some people like to overcomplicate their lives. I think they feel that life has to be complicated, that it has to be hard to get rich. But I don't believe it has to be complicated. I like to keep my life as simple as possible, and I do believe it can be very easy to get rich. You just have to open the tabloid newspaper to see that. I do also believe that you shouldn't get too anxious or stressed about your trading. You shouldn't just keep checking the charts every 5 minutes, but at the same time, nor should you not look at the charts every 5 minutes. You need to get a balance. And I do really strongly believe in using Forex Tester. It really helps me get my head sorted when I've either had a really winning trade or a bad day. And I'm a really emotional person, which is not at all the sort of trader that I think you're supposed to be. I say that in italics. I think one of the wonderful things about Forex is that anybody can do this now. I was actually, just before Walter brought you all into the webinar, I was just saying to him that one of the things I love about Forex now is that we don't have to go and work in a trading floor with sweaty men and foul-mouthed language, and it's we can do this from home. We can be anybody. We don't have to fit a certain stereotype, and I certainly don't fit the stereotype. But I do think that there are many ways to find success, and you have to believe in your own strengths. And I really, in summary, this is to me why I've tripled my account. It's because I don't focus on the system. I don't really mind which system I use. To me, it's more about the money management and my head. And I spend a lot of time just trying to observe myself and all my many ups and downs. Yeah, are there any questions? I know you're probably wanting to know about my strategy, but it's in the document that Walter will be sending you.
Yeah.
And I just felt like it would take so long to explain that. Yeah, and it didn't seem as important to me as this other stuff.
Yeah. So thanks, Nicola. Yeah. So I know obviously a lot of people are wondering about the strategy. And again, everyone here is going to get that. I'll give you the link to that, obviously. I just think that, as Nicola said, what she's trying to do, guys, is she's trying to bring the focus back to what's important. And I have plenty of questions for you, Nicola, if you're ready for that.
Sure, go for it.
Right. Okay. So these are just all based on some of the things that you said. So, and then, of course, we've got lots of questions here from, and I'll try and pick out the traders' questions that are most relevant and most consistent across the board. But my questions are, you mentioned that, once you have a winning trade, you have this likelihood to have it swing back the other direction. And I'm just wondering, is there anything that you can do to counterbalance that, or what is your approach in terms of knowing that, okay, I've had this winner, I have to be careful for my next trade? Like, is there anything that you do for that?
For me, it depends on how big a win it's been and how much of an emotional surprise it was. If I feel that my heart's racing and I can't settle, then I turn my computer off and I go away. I guess I've just burnt my hands too many times. I just learned that for me, that to go back and trade after a massive win is not a good idea. I do like to go back and write down all my trades. I keep a trading journal, and I have noticed that when I take the time to write down my trades, where I was in my head at the time I took the trade, whether it was spontaneous, whether it was following a strategy, whether it was, well, all the criteria, whatever stands out to me about that moment. But it feels like a pain to have to write it all down, but when I do that, it really gets me focused on, is this actually a good trade, or is this a kind of emotional reaction? And I do, if I've had a big loser or a big winner, it does make me more inclined to make sure, doubly sure, that I write down my trades for that reason.